From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of the Non-Sequitor Haggadah. If you look at the Mishnah in Pesachim, it says that Matchil b'gnut u'mesayim b'shvach, that we're supposed to begin the storytelling of the story of the Exodus of Jews. We're supposed to begin with gnut, with something derogatory, something negative, u'mesayim b'shvach, and to end with something that's positive and a praise to God for that which has taken place. However, we look a few lines later in the Mishnah, Rabbi Gamliel says that what you need to do on Pesach is to describe the Pesach, the Paschal offering, the matzah, the actual eating of the matzah, and the maror, the bitter herbs. So, how is that matchil b'gnut u'mesayim b'shvach? Pesach took place the night the Jews left. The matzah was the matzah when they were going out the next morning, but the maror represents the affliction which took place before either the Pesach or the matzah. So it's a non-sequitur. We've gone out of order. It should be maror, reflecting the years of slavery. Then the Pesach, reflecting the evening of our redemption. And matzah, reflecting the Jews not having enough time as they were leaving. The whole thing is out of order. In fact, if you look in the version of the Mishnah in some editions of the Yerushalmi, it says Pesach, maror, and matzah, or marorim and matzah. If you look in the Rambam, not in his Haggadah, but in his actual laws, he says that you should talk about the maror that we eat, and then the matzah that we eat. So he puts maror before the matzah. So at least the maror, he has the maror, which is about affliction, before the matzah, which is about redemption. Also in the manuscript of the Ksav Yad Kaufman, a fascinating manuscript of the Mishnah from around the 10th century, Italian manuscript, there we see very clearly, he says, marorim, why do we eat the maror? Because it was bitter for our ancestors, and matzah, because we were redeemed. So he has the maror before the matzah. So one answer is that the Mishnah, at least part of the Mishnah, is out of order. The way we have it is not correct. It really should be more in order. The Maharil, about 500 years ago, the commentators on various customs and things, he says, well, when the temple existed, I understand the Rambam is writing for the days of the temple, then the maror was a condiment to the Pesach, and it needed to go with the Pesach. Now, maror is a Rabbanan, it's a rabbinical law. The maror is more connected with the matzah, so we put the maror next to the matzah. Certainly nowadays, the maror is not a Torah law, says the Talmud. It's only a rabbinic law, so it's least significant. Therefore, it goes at the end. But nonetheless, the story is out of order. There's a commentary called Nitzotzeo wrote, in which he bases his comments on the Zohar, and he says, you know why the maror is last? Because really you don't feel the pain until you're out of it. As long as the Jews were suffering from slavery, they couldn't feel the slavery. But when they got out of slavery, they had the matzah, they got out, and nigalu, they redeemed, then and only then did they fully appreciate how afflicted they were in the past. Sometimes things are so bad we don't realize it. It's not until you go to Israel that you realize that when you're in America, maybe you don't feel as home as you might somewhere else, like in Israel. And so sometimes it takes getting into the redemption before you can experience the bitterness. That's why we put the bitterness at the end. The Ma'ayin Shel Torah, in the Haggadah called Ma'ayin Shel Torah, he says, the truth is that it's reminding us of something very important, and that is that we cannot forget the exile, the difficulties, the affliction, even after we're redeemed. Notice how the Jewish people in the last 100 years, in the last 70 years, the Jewish people have not said, well, the Holocaust, that's from the past, let's let bygones be bygones, let's put that in the past. No, we keep reminding ourselves and the world, the Holocaust took place, it was perpetrated against our people, we'll never forget it, you should never forget it, no one should ever forget it, it's a travesty to forget the Holocaust, it's a crime to forget the Holocaust, to deny the Holocaust. Even after you're redeemed, we don't forget the affliction, we remember it forevermore. A Jew remembers Zachor, or a Jew remembers, remember evil, remember Amalek, remember the affliction of the Egyptians perpetrated against us, even after our redemption. Finally, based on our theory of the Haggadot, which we had in other webcasts about the 4 Haggadot in one, the missing pieces of the Haggadah, could be that the whole premise of our question is wrong. The Mishnah said that you should start with something bad and end with something good. Tell a happy story with a happy ending. Rabbi Gamliel says, no, I disagree with that. I'm not going to be bound by that principle. I believe in a non-sequitor Haggadah. I believe in a Haggadah that's not linear. I believe in a Haggadah that you just pick up the different foods and you talk about them. With the matzah, the pesach, the mohar, it doesn't make a difference. The story is told through eating and doing and through what Jews do. That's how we tell the story. How does a Jew tell the story? A Jew tells a story in action. As we live our Jewish lives, that tells the story. There's an idea that in Judaism, in the Torah, and the Talmud, things are not so linear. Sometimes the stories digress. Sometimes the Talmud digresses very much. That's the Jewish way. It keeps the mind stimulated, and you wonder, what is this doing here? Why are you talking about that there? This is the ancient way of being less linear than we are today in the Western world. And therefore, Rabbi Gamliel says, this is the best education. Throw out ideas, make it stimulating, make it fascinating. Let the student put the pieces back together. Let him figure out what the storyline is. And that's another way, an alternate way of telling the story, not to begin with the villain and to end with the resolution, but rather talk about the villain, talk about the resolution, talk about the salvation, talk about the problems, and just go back and forth. And in that, you'll have a stimulating, exciting discussion, one that is unpredictable, and that will lead to the greatest appreciation of our history. The non-sequitor Haggadah, many theories as to what it means, when we need to remember, what we need to remember. And the main thing is that we should remember. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshe Sfar Beth El Congregation for our discussion of the non-sequitor Haggadah. And join us for each week of our discussion of Pesach, other holidays, portion of the week, our how-to videos. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz for making today's presentation possible. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit ASBEE.org.